Well, she has been at the helm of the Ontario Liberal Party for just over a year now.
As 2024 comes to an end, Bonnie Crombie is reflecting on the past 12 months, the turmoil facing the federal Liberals and her plans for the future. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris reports.
People have lost the dream of owning their own home.
Looking back at 2024, the word that comes to mind for Bonnie Crombie?
Challenging. So for me personally, there was a large learning curve.
Year one on the job as Liberal leader. Her popularity as mayor of Mississauga hasn't carried over to provincial politics as she'd hoped.
I got to get used to this.
But she says this has been a rough year for Ontarians, too.
No tax relief, no access to family doctors, crumbling schools, and no homes to be built.
Despite those knocks, polling has shown Doug Ford's Progressive Conservatives likely to form a third majority government.
People aren't focused on election time, electioneering right now.
Crombie believes Ford is benefiting from relentless advertising campaigns, some using taxpayer money, and support for the federal Conservative leader. But she doesn't believe the unpopular Liberal Prime Minister is dragging her numbers down.
Not at all. I'm a different leader. I've distinguished myself in my positions from the Prime Minister. I've spoken out against the carbon tax.
With Justin Trudeau's leadership under attack, Crombie will only say the Prime Minister has a lot to think about.
But you're not one of the people publicly calling for him to go.
It is not my place to publicly call on the Prime Minister. It is his own decision.
She says the turmoil in Ottawa has left premiers jockeying to fill a leadership void in the face of potential tariffs under Donald Trump.
Here in Ontario, not only can the Premier not get the basics right for Ontarians, he's threatening punitive measures.
Like cutting off electricity, having the LCBO hold off buying American-made booze. It's a tumultuous time, complicated by the possibility of an early election next year.
I'll have the opportunity to share with them our platform and tell them that in 4 years, they'll have access to a family doctor, that their taxes will be cut, personal income taxes by $100 a month, and that we will remove the HST on their home heating and hydro bills.
But after 6 years relegated to third place, not enough seats for party status in the legislature.
What does the measure of success look like for you in this election? If, you know,
winning. We play to win. I want to make that change for Ontarians so badly. I want to give them that choice.
When that opportunity to choose may come is still unclear. Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
This is every family's worst fear when a loved one works as a police officer and does not come home safely after their shift.
A Toronto police officer dies while on duty. A service in shock, overcome with sadness.
Tonight, the very public display of grief and the outpouring of support, how the veteran officer is being remembered. Good evening. A large procession gathered to honor the police detective who served 14 years on the force.
It's believed he died from a medical episode after executing a search warrant this morning. CTV's Mike Walker joins us live tonight from Humber River Hospital with the story. Mike.
Well, Michelle Natalie, Detective John Park, was a member of the hold-up squad and a father of 2 young children. Tonight, he's being remembered for serving the city with courage and a great sense of duty.
A policing community in mourning. Officers line the road and salute the procession carrying Detective John Park's body from Humber River Hospital to the coroner's office. His grieving family following behind after the veteran Toronto police officer died of a suspected medical episode while on duty this morning.
There's no words to express the sorrow that we feel right now.
Park was executing a search warrant with other officers for a robbery at an apartment building in the Jane and Steeles area when the incident occurred. He was rushed to hospital where he was pronounced dead. Police did not elaborate on the type of medical episode.
We are aware that there is some speculation about a potential exposure to narcotics. We have nothing to believe that it is related to narcotics exposure.
Flags outside 31 Division have been lowered. Park was 40 years old and a 14-year veteran with the force and was a member of the hold-up squad.
And today's just a tragic day, but we stand together to support the family and the colleagues of this brave officer who served in our hold-up squad, which is one of the most elite units.
This is heartbreaking news just before Christmas.
Fighting back tears, Deputy Chief Lauren Polk said Park is survived by his wife Tina and 2 young children, 9 and 5 years old.
This is every family's worst fear when a loved one works as a police officer and does not come home safely after their shift. Detective Park was a wonderful and loving father, and he was appreciated by everyone who knew him at the Toronto Police Service.
Mayor Olivia Chow says she's heartbroken by the officer's death.
My heartfelt condolence go out to the officer's family, friends, and colleagues during this painful time. We deeply appreciate the work of our officers and the work they do every day for our city.
Premier Doug Ford offering his condolences in a statement that reads in part, "It's a sober reminder of the need to always stand with our women and men in uniform who work tirelessly every day to keep our community safe."
Toronto Police didn't provide any further details on the robbery investigation. The deputy chief says the force's focus right now is doing everything they can to support Detective Park's family. Reporting live, I'm Mike Walker. Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. Meantime, the work of the Toronto Police Service continues. Today, detectives on the scene of a homicide in Scarborough.
A man shot and killed early this morning. CTV's Janice Golding is at the scene tonight near Markham Road in Eglinton and joins us live with the latest. Janice.
Hi, Natalie. Despite the fact they have very little details as to exactly what transpired here, people in the Scarborough Village community tell us they are very alarmed about the fatal shooting overnight.
Have the window open, so I had out like this, so the sound came really clearly into here, you know, and I didn't know where it was because it sounded like a jackhammer, like that loud.
Velma says she was getting ready for bed when the shots rang out just outside her bedroom window on the first floor. Terrified, the Toronto woman ran to her bathroom.
Because that was the only place that didn't have any windows.
And how long did you stay there?
About 10 minutes or so, until I heard the sirens.
Resident after resident in this Toronto community housing building at the corner of Markham and Eglinton describing the sounds of gunfire.
It felt as if it was actually a heavy drilling.
It was a big sound.
This woman says she was in her upstairs unit when the shots rang out.
So when I looked out the window, the shots were already done. He was at the corner here and just took a few steps there and dropped. The hardest thing I've ever to witness.
Police say they received reports of gunfire just before 12:15 a.m. When they arrived on scene, they found a man with multiple gunshot wounds.
Police right away, a few minutes later, ambulance. I think the ambulance covered him pretty quickly. Like he was deceased there, he died on scene.
Emergency responders performed life-saving measures and the victim was rushed to hospital via emergency run where he would be pronounced dead.
I was in my bed minding my business. I just saw the lights. The officers is the ones that woke me up because they were loud and they had all the dogs all over the place.
Neighborhood residents very shaken by what happened in their community.
It's scary. And sometimes, you know, you have to wonder when you leave your house if you're going to get a chance to go home back.
It's sad in this world today that there's so much violence that's happening. It's very sad.
And the suspect or suspects are still at large. This is Toronto's 83rd homicide of the year, and of course the homicide unit has taken carriage of the investigation. Reporting live, I'm Janice Golding. Now back to Michelle.
Thank you, Janice. And for the second straight night, Durham police were called for reports of multiple shots fired at a residence. Officers were called to the area of Haverhill Crescent in Whitby just after 1 a.m. for reports of a person with a gun. When police arrived, they found 20 shell casings. There are no reports of injuries.
Still ahead on CTV News, a tumultuous week on Parliament Hill is not over yet. The Prime Minister is set to shuffle his front bench tomorrow. We go to Ottawa for a preview of the shakeup.
But first, a live look outside on this Thursday night. We are into minus territory now, so keep that in mind for all your outdoor evening plans. Looks like a whole bunch of folks enjoying the lights at Nathan Phillips Square, and it's a good thing that they are moving because you're going to need to create some heat. It's very cold. Also of note, Environment Canada has issued a winter weather travel advisory. We're getting a dose of snow overnight and into your Friday morning. CTV's Jessica Smith joins us live from Markham tonight, where no doubt snow will add to that festive vibe, Jess, but it could also make for hazardous driving conditions.
It can, right? It's that double-edged sword when it comes to winter weather. Yes, it looks really pretty when you're inside, but traveling in it, not so great. And it's also really challenging when it comes to such a busy travel weekend. So keep that in mind as you make your way out and about this weekend. But we are down here in Markham for a really special reason for Toy Mountain. We'll have more on that in a moment. We're talking about your forecast. Right now, just cloud cover out there, but the snow is knocking on the door and it's prompting those winter weather travel advisories. Yes, it is cold. We've dipped below seasonal and this trend isn't going anywhere as we head into the weekend. Right now, we're at -1 through the islands, through Pearson, and as we head into this evening, the snow begins overnight and carries into the day tomorrow. So whether you're traveling for the holidays, maybe you're heading into work, whatever you got to do tomorrow, take your time because the roads are going to be a little bit slippery. More on your full forecast coming up, but we are obviously down here for a reason as we get to celebrate another amazing Toy Mountain campaign, and it has been pretty cool down here. There's that carousel. We're having a great time, but I want to start with some news. I'll get you to introduce yourself and where you're from.
Hi, my name is Cindy and I'm from Markham, Ontario, and I'm here with our Love Like Afton organization in memory of our nephew and our little cousin Afton Taylor, who passed away 5 years ago.
Now, you guys have come together for a really special reason to donate toys. Why is that so important to you, to give back to the community and to kids in need?
It's actually very important to us, and like I mentioned, it's part of what Afton was very special for, and he just spreading kindness to everyone, and especially for little kids who are in need this holiday season.
And it's a beautiful thing that you can continue sharing his story and his memory by giving to other kids, and we appreciate your donation so much. Thank you. And I don't mean to alarm you guys, but there's a dinosaur standing beside me. Not a real dinosaur, but that's okay. We'll do the two-step here. Can you introduce yourself and where you're from?
Yes, my name is Greg from Evolution Chamber. Our #1 evolution chamber in the world, which is personal training studio. And we're donating toys. It's not just us, it's our members who made this all possible. We donated over 300 toys, and it's evolution season.
Listen, we love when people come together, and it doesn't matter where you're from, who you are, every donation counts, and thank you so much for coming together and coming in costume. I mean, dinosaurs are part of the holiday season, right? We are down here in Markham as we celebrate another Toy Mountain, and we're building a massive Toy Mountain! That's what I'm talking about. We got Shieldy here. We have all kinds of fun stuff going on. I'll have more on Toy Mountain and, of course, your forecast because the snow is on the way, but for now, I'll send things back inside.
Thank you, Jess. Well, his government has been in turmoil since the sudden resignation of his finance minister earlier this week. And now Justin Trudeau is set to shuffle his cabinet.
Sources telling CTV News there will be a number of changes tomorrow morning. CTV's Judy Trin reports.
There are big holes in the Prime Minister's inner circle. Since the summer, 9 cabinet ministers have stepped down or decided not to run again. But former Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland is staying in caucus after she quit cabinet before presenting the fall economic statement.
I, Dominic LeBlanc.
Freeland was replaced by Dominic LeBlanc as the country's chief financial officer. He was the Prime Minister's last-minute choice. At a news conference, LeBlanc said former Bank of Canada Governor Mark Carney will not be replacing him anytime soon.
He told me that I was going to be the finance minister in his government until the next election, that I was going to be the finance minister to present the next budget, and 2025 will be an election year. So that's the work that I'm doing. And again, I wasn't part of any conversations with Mr. Carney.
On top of his new role, LeBlanc remains Intergovernmental Affairs Minister and maintains responsibility for border security. But the role of Public Safety Minister will be given to someone else. Other cabinet roles that could be shuffled include housing, which was vacated by Sean Fraser on the same day Freeland quit, employment, transport, northern affairs, southern economic development, national revenue, and sport are also open. New faces are expected.
It's a chance to reward people, quite frankly, and it's a chance to improve their chances of winning their seats because they have a bit more stature and status.
The chaos in government is happening as a tariff war looms with the U.S. The former president of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce says the cabinet shuffle allows Trudeau to show he's still in control.
It's been
disturbing that for the last 2 days, he's been largely out of sight. He's not been meeting with the media. He wasn't in Parliament for question period. And this is a way of asserting the fact that he's in control of the party, at least for the time being.
The priority for this new cabinet will be taking on the challenge of Donald Trump. He becomes president on January 20th, 1 full week before Parliament resumes. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
Still to come on CTV News, as political pressure on the Prime Minister mounts in Ottawa, Liberals at Queen's Park are keeping close tabs on the turmoil on the Hill. Liberal Leader Bonnie Crombie speaks to CTV News just ahead.
But first to Toronto City Hall, Mayor Olivia Chow says residents should expect another tax hike in 2025. She was pressed on the plan in a year-end interview on Newstalk 1010's More in the Morning today.
I have to ask for a third time, are you going to have to raise taxes?
Well, because of inflationary increase, we have to be able to pay the police and the TDC.
Right.
I'm
Is that a yes, but I don't have a figure?
The service, I don't have a figure.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be in mid-January, you know. We have to pay for services. If not, we just borrow money. That's not who I am. No, we pay for what we have to do. And we inherited, as you know, John, last year, $1.8 billion. Because of the New Deal, we're climbing out of the budget hole, but we still are not completely out yet, right?
Okay.
So we have to get better investment from both the federal and the provincial government, and we're very thankful for all levels in supporting the city.
Next year's tax hike will follow the historic high increase of 9.5% that the Chow administration imposed in 2024.
And this afternoon, the mayor was on hand to break ground on a new housing development in Kensington Market. The project at 35 Bellevue Avenue will include 78 new homes for people experiencing or at risk of homelessness. Construction is expected to be completed by the end of next year.
The City of Toronto has opened a new warming centre at Metro Hall as part of the winter services plan for people experiencing homelessness. The centre will be activated at -5 degrees Celsius, and when a winter weather warning is issued, the site will feature 30 spaces for those in need.
Folks can just come down to Metro Hall and we'll be able to support them in our warming center. If we are at capacity, we will be supporting with transportation and space at another warming center or shelter that's available.
It comes as part of a 10-year strategy to build shelters across the city and provide necessary supports to those in need.
For the first time in weeks, Canada Post is now accepting new mail, but only for domestic delivery. Also starting today, small business customers can now drop off parcels at all Canada Post facilities. The Crown Corporation says mail is being processed on a first-in, first-out basis and reminds Canadians they should expect delays into the new year as it deals with a backlog of letters and parcels. Canada Post will start accepting new international mail on December 23rd. Employees return to the job Tuesday after being ordered back to work.
Well, she has been at the helm of the Ontario Liberal Party for just over a year now.
As 2024 comes to an end, Bonnie Crombie is reflecting on the past 12 months, the turmoil facing the federal Liberals and her plans for the future. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris reports.
People have lost the dream of owning their own home.
Looking back at 2024, the word that comes to mind for Bonnie Crombie:
challenging. So for me personally, there was a large learning curve.
Year one on the job as Liberal leader, her popularity as mayor of Mississauga hasn't carried over to provincial politics as she'd hoped.
I got to get used to this.
But she says this has been a rough year for Ontarians too.
No tax relief, no access to family doctors, crumbling schools, and no homes to be built.
Despite those knocks, polling has shown Doug Ford's Progressive Conservatives likely to form a third majority government.
People aren't focused on election time, electioneering right now.
Crombie believes Ford is benefiting from relentless advertising campaigns, some using taxpayer money, and support for the federal Conservative leader. But she doesn't believe the unpopular Liberal Prime Minister is dragging her numbers down.
Not at all. I'm a different leader. I've distinguished myself in my positions from the Prime Minister. I've spoken out against the carbon tax.
With Justin Trudeau's leadership under attack, Crombie will only say the Prime Minister has a lot to think about.
but you're not one of the people publicly calling for him to
It
go.
is not my place to publicly call on the Prime Minister. It is his own decision.
She says the turmoil in Ottawa has left premiers jockeying to fill a leadership void in the face of potential tariffs under Donald Trump.
Here in Ontario, not only can the Premier not get the basics right for Ontarians, he's threatening punitive measures.
Like cutting off electricity, having the LCBO hold off buying American-made booze. It's a tumultuous time, complicated by the possibility of an early election next year.
I'll have the opportunity to share with them our platform and tell them that in 4 years, they'll have access to a family doctor, that their taxes will be cut, personal income taxes by $100 a month, and that we will remove the HST on their home heating and hydro bills.
But after 6 years, relegated to third place, not enough seats for party status in the legislature.
What does the measure of success look like for you in this election? If, you know,
winning. We play to win. I want to make that change for Ontarians so badly. I want to give them that choice.
When that opportunity to choose may come is still unclear. Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
There is now an independent body to review applications of wrongful convictions.
The statistics, from my perspective, are actually quite startling. And the statistics point to a situation where we know that the justice system is strong. I agree with James on that. But we know that the justice system makes mistakes.
Multiple people have been exonerated in recent decades through the help of advocacy and nonprofit groups like Innocence Canada. The federal government is seeking to rein in what it calls a miscarriage of justice in criminal trials. It expects to receive more than 200 allegations of wrongful convictions in the commission's first year.
The man suspected in the killing of United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson is now back in New York to face charges.
We frequently extradite people to Blair County and send people to other states in the regular course of business. At any time, a defendant can change their mind and decide to waive that, which eliminates the need for that habeas hearing. And that's what happened today.
Luigi Mangione agreed this morning to be extradited during a brief court appearance in Pennsylvania. A judge then ordered he be handed over to New York police. He's been indicted on charges of murder as an act of terrorism.
A warning now that some of the details in this next story are disturbing. 51 men have been found guilty after a French woman was drugged and sexually assaulted by her husband and others over nearly a decade. CTV Jean-Pierre Beauchemin reports.
Those words of gratitude on court steps greeted Gisèle Pellico, a victim and now an image of bravery around the globe. Pellico's former husband was found guilty of drugging and raping her in the home where they had retired in the small village of Mazan, France. He also recruited dozens of other men online to rape her, and this for over a decade, encounters he filmed and photographed. Dominique Pellico, now 72 years old, was sentenced to the maximum under French law, 20 years in jail. His lawyer, Béatrice Zavarro, said they have yet to decide whether to appeal. The 50 other accused were dubbed collectively Mr. Everyman. Truck drivers, a firefighter, a prison guard, a journalist. They were handed sentences ranging